the psychological impacts were significant. Probably some of the most profound psychological impacts had to do in the style of dress. Nobody else signified it more than Superfly, perhaps, in which the clothing style and the hairstyle of the characters were quickly picked up by the black community, and you saw people wearing the bell bottoms, and you saw them wearing their hair straightened, and you saw the wide lapel coats and the maxi coats and what have you. And so that became a part of black popular culture.
With Superfly, you had, at least for me, East St. Louis, a little small country town, suddenly you see the hat and the coat and the shoes, and the whole thing was just like an explosive thing in terms of fashion. Everybody had to look like Superfly. Everybody wanted to dress like Superfly. Superfly was the thing to be. Even that phrase, Superfly, that was a New York phrase, looking fly, but it hadn't reached, East St. Louis yet. So even what the movie meant had to be explained to us. But it translated that culture very quickly. Now you have BET, and suddenly dances, which normally would have taken 6 months to go from a Southern college to the East or West Coast, happens instantaneously. But back then, this was the first time that you could take black cultural trends and, explode them out that quickly.
And the audiences were mesmerized. It was the first time that an audience had seen characters that looked like they looked in positions of power, in positions of empowerment, and in positions of control.
Give that to Willie Green and tell him I want him out of here in 24 hours. And 23 of them are already gone. You understand?
You had the one and only Dolomite. That was me, and I considered myself as being great for that period. When I say great, I was great. I wasn't conceited. I was merely convinced. And we had the great Fred Williamson, who was known as the Hammer, Jim Kelly, the karate fighter, and Jim Brown, that made great impact on the screen.
The Blaxploitation era created a set of icons which still appeal to us today. When you think about Pam Grier, when you think about Richard Roundtree, when you think about Fred Williamson, in The Legend of Nigger Charlie, you go, those are some badass motherfuckers. And everybody needs a set of badass motherfuckers. We didn't have John Wayne, so finally we were getting our first set of icons like that, with motherfuckers who did not take none, and you need that as a people, and if films are our fantasies, made real and projected on screen, if you don't have icons like that, fantasies like that, you're stunted.
We are all ready to win, just as we are born knowing only life. It is defeat that you must learn to prepare for.
I don't waste my time with it. When it comes, I won't even notice.
Oh, how so?
I'll be too busy looking good.
Hey, how do I look?
Look good, Duval.
I don't look good, I look marvelous.
The black films of the 70s helped to redefine the way African Americans were depicted in movies and on television. These new images were seen by many as role models, but others did not view these films or the characters in them as something positive.
I am your Lord, your light. I am on high. You will linger on my every word and obey it. The Gospel of St. Creole, chapter 69.
Not all the images were negative, don't get me wrong. I mean, there were some positive and very interesting images as well. But for the most part, that time kind of perpetuated negative, the characters from the inner city, from the streets, that we don't necessarily want to see all the time glorified on screen.
All right, you ready to deal?
5 keys, like I said. Only now it's going to cost some more. 250,000. Hey, man, haven't you heard? The dope depression is on. It's dry as a desert out there, and old Bo is going to bring the rain.
The image that was brought forth was not always positive, but the surrounding things that happened in the industry and what happened in the black community was positive. But I'm looking at this in terms of change. During that space and time, the change occurred in the community to say, yes, I can be in the film business. Yes, I can do that. And I even see people who look like me being nominated for major awards, being recognized by the total film industry and the music industry in a way that they had never been before. So I think that's the positive aspects of it.
I have a very hard time looking at any form of entertainment as something for a role model. In fact, I think that we do that way too much as a culture. And it was partly because entertainment was the only industry that we were allowed to participate in America, that it got this sort of overblown cause and effect. But, you know, it's entertainment. I mean, the real role models are the parents. The real role models are the teachers. Real, you know, and now that's a role model.
I want to be like you, Goldie.
Hey, look, I told you about that.
Yes.
I don't want to ever hear you sing that again.
Okay.
And it goes for the rest of it. You want to be my partner, I don't want to hear you say that. Okay, man, you can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be anything you want to be, but I don't want to ever hear you saying you want to be like me, okay?
You know, I enjoyed those movies when I was a kid. At the same time, I don't have any illusions about them in terms of that they were all good or that everything in them is good for you. I mean, there's a lot of movies I like that are not, you know, great films. There's a lot of I can enjoy an entertaining film and appreciate it for what it is, but that doesn't mean I have any illusions that it's you know Fellini or Kurosawa, you know. But it is what it is, and that's a beautiful thing in itself.
If you were to take a film that was made by Charles Bronson, okay, Death Wish, and we call it Whitesploitation, you would laugh. Why then don't we laugh when we take a film that's made by Jim Brown or Fred Williamson and we call that Blaxploitation? Both of those films were fantasies going to an audience, and in those fantasies we had a star, an actor, going towards villains and settling the situation, bringing normalcy back in an area, in a place, through violence. Violence against violence to quell violence. When the black actor did it, or when the black film was made that way, it was a terrible thing, it was negative, da-da-da-da. But when Clint Eastwood did it, it was hurrah. There is a double standard, and a ridiculous double standard, that's in our faces. In all of our faces.
We're not the only ones that dwelled on violence in movies. I'll tell you, when I was going to movies, sitting up watching all white pictures, I watched pictures like Scarface, shootouts, car blow-ups, and all of that. And The Godfather was one that come along later, and they'd never call that Italian exploitation. But I would say that the pictures that we made with the violence in them were not any more violent than the pictures that was made by the system in the days that we went to see pictures that we couldn't see ourselves doing this. So I think it's crude just because we did that is to be down on us and make ours Blaxploitation, because theirs was never referred to as white exploitation or white exploitation, however you want to call it.
Oh, if you look at any element in film, say that there was no race at all, and that we're all one race, and you look at film, there's a million and one cop movies out there, there's a million and one movies with bad guys in them, and the bad guys are white, the bad guys are whatever color the bad guy is in all the rest of these movies, that's the color they are. But nobody goes, oh, he's a white bad guy, you know. But when it's a black bad guy, oh, he's black and he's bad and he's doing things in the street. It's like, you know, even black people start to go, well, we don't want our image out there like that. And you know, even with our movies, we had the same problem. It's like people on these first two movies are like, well, it's too negative. And so we already know the feeling that those filmmakers had back then is like, well, we don't want our face shown out there like that. So actually, what they're asking for and saying there's a blaxploitation and it's negative is some form of propaganda in filmmaking. Okay, we want you guys, because our situation is so bad and because we don't want white people looking at this, we don't want black people looking at this, we want you guys to propagandize our image and make it into something it really isn't, which is pristine, and no image is pristine. So that's what I think is a big problem.
Every culture's fucked up. So.
Yeah.